Second semester fee sorted. I know he was not doing the best in his business back home. And he had to take a loan to pay my first semester uni fee as well. And I sit down with him. I sit down in a carpet with him, not on the bed. And I said, Dad, I've already saved $12,000 and I've been in the country for 6 months. He started crying. And I don't know what came in my head. Cocky enough. I said, mate, give me a chance. Who's your best salesperson? I'll beat him. He's like, oh, you're never going to do that. And I was like, give me a chance. I was hungry. I could see another uni fee coming in. And he gave me a chance. He's like, you know what? I'll give you 3 months. Let me see what you can do. To give an accounting exam in Flemington in the morning, come back to the branch, get there at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. in the evening and work from 4 to 9 and then next day maybe have an exam again. So I think I was wired like that. My discipline helped. The urge to be number one. I've always been family oriented. Family to me comes first till date. No matter how much successful I would have become, family comes first. Everything is for the family. I'll compromise anything for them. I'll kill for them. Your physical well-being, mental well-being of your business, everything relies around your family, because at the end of the day, they want to see the best of you and they want to see you doing financially well. I know money is a big motivator. Who do you want to work with? You want to work with almost everyone when you start a business. Once I mastered my time and learned how to say no and understanding who I really want to work with and who are not my people is when I understood that, yes, I can build something bigger out of this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How to Win podcast. It's the other way around today. I've got a great friend of mine, Mr. James Kemp, who wanted to interview me and get to know about my life, my journey in Australia. I'm very glad he's decided to do it. I would love to talk about it. James, in your hands now, mate.
Well, thank you for the invite. I'm very honoured to be a part of what you're doing and I'm really happy for you and proud of you as a friend and also someone that works with you closely.
Thank you.
I do know a little bit about your life background, so I'm actually really interested in getting to know it a bit more and I'm sure the viewers are as well because I think it makes you into who you are as a person and all that stuff. So, Anmol, take us back to 2013. You were arriving in Australia at the age of 23. What was that like?
Yep. So I never wanted to come to Australia, to be honest. I was studying back home. I was doing my CA and my Bachelor's of Law, which is, again, a great combination to excel in your career. My parents obviously visited my sister every year, who used to live here since 2007. They loved coming here. They loved the lifestyle. They loved how she's built her career, lived her life, made good relations all along. And they used to tell me, hey, you're wasting your time in India, going out with the boys every night. I was good in studies, don't get me wrong, but they always had a sense of feeling that the family should be together and at least the siblings should be together. I was pushed into, it's the decision my sister and my parents made. I was pushed into it. So I did my English exam and applied for a course. Obviously, I was studying accounting overseas and applied for a master's degree, master's in accounting and master's in business finance down at Vic Uni in Sydney. It was good. Big change from where I come. I come from a small town back in Punjab and it was a big change culturally. I mean, I've never worked overseas. Coming down here, knowing that I don't have a strong backup. I mean, hats off to my dad to organize first my sister's education. I wouldn't say he funded the education. My sister was really bright and she was good at taking the whole responsibility. She paid all her uni fee. She settled down here and the same quality she built in me. And I came down here, started looking for jobs along with my uni degree and life started to make sense.
Yeah, nice. It would have been scary as well, Australia not being an option for you and then kind of being forced into for the family matter, but I'm sure you're looking back now, it was the best decision you ever made.
It was the best decision. 6 months after my dad and my mum came down, it was December 2013. July 2013 is when I came to Australia and I was sitting at my sister's house. My dad took me on the side. Obviously, he paid for my first semester uni fee. And he took me to the side and said, hey, by the way, here's the check. I've got your second semester fee sorted. I know he was not doing the best in his business back home. And he had to take a loan to pay my first semester uni fee as well. And I sit down with him. I sit down in a carpet with him, not on the bed. And I said, Dad, I've already saved $12,000 and I've been in the country for 6 months. He started crying. I think it was the best thing for me to do in the start and grow from there. And, you know, I only asked him one thing. I said, Dad, the only thing I need from you is sell whatever you have overseas and move down here. That's the only thing I want. I love this country. I know I never wanted to come here, but it started to make sense. I've got a job that I like, and I'm doing well side by side on my studies. And I think from there we started progressing.
Amazing. What was the first few months like living in Australia? You come from this small town in India and then you move to somewhere like Melbourne. It must have been very interesting.
It was different. I mean, English is obviously not the first language where we sort of come from. So, yes, there were a few challenges. You know, you start applying for jobs, you get knockbacks. I mean, we studied in good schools overseas, but no matter how good English you speak, you have to learn the Australian way. And I would go at interviews and they used to say, pardon, what are you saying? And I'm like, man, this is something different to what I've seen. I believe I know good English. I'm well educated, but these guys are making me look like shit.
And Australian English isn't the most easy. We've got a lot of slang and a lot of interesting terminology that you go, what?
Yeah, I know.
So how did you go working while studying a Masters of Accounting and Finance? That wouldn't have been easy either. That's a pretty demanding degree, especially being new to Australia. Yeah. Probably the English is not fully there yet. And then also working. What was that like as you first started off here?
Look, lucky in a way to get a decent job while I came into the country, and thanks to my sister and brother-in-law for helping me out there with my first job. They knew someone at Optus who owned a few Optus stores, obviously a telco company, and they organized an interview. And after that, you know, I did okay in the interview. Got my first job at the Glen Waverley branch, again, Australian and Asian dominated suburb. It was fun. I learned a lot. You know, I learned how to talk, write a proper email, and probably sell. You know, obviously you're working in a retail shop, you expected to sell. I learned a lot. From there, I applied a role at Telstra, which was my local store. So took a bus one day on my day off and went to my local Telstra stores, handed my resume and got invited for an interview. Funny enough, I get chosen at the group interview, and when I got invited for a one-on-one interview with the area manager, he saw my Indian passport in my hand. He's like, so you're not from here? I was like, no. He's like, what visa are you on? And I'm like, student visa. He's like, you're only allowed to work a few hours, isn't it? I was like, yeah, so what? And he's like, we're not hiring casuals, man. This is a full-time job. Telstra is a big company. You expected to hit your targets. And I don't know what came in my head. Cocky enough, I said, mate, give me a chance. Who's your best salesperson? I'll beat him. He's like, fuck off, you're never going to do that. And I was like, give me a chance. I was hungry. I could see another uni fee coming in. And he gave me a chance. He's like, you know what? I'll give you 3 months. Let me see what you can do. 1 month passes, 2 months passes, 3 months. I get a call in my branch asking, where is Anmol? And I pick up the phone and say, hello. He's like, this is your dad. I can see you haven't even sold a thing and you were talking big in your interview. I think that was a life-changing moment for me. I was like, it's either do or die. You know, I'll lose the job and might have to start looking for another job. I picked up my game. I was shadowing some good salespeople and good staff there anyway, and I pick up my game. Comes month number 5, I made it to top 10 in the company as salespeople. Comes month number 8, I was number 1, and I stayed number 1 for quite a bit. So at one time, I was managing my uni. I was consistently number 1 in the company. Number 1, 2, 3. Back and forth. Very competitive. I used to juggle exams, so would go to give an accounting exam in Flemington in the morning, come back to the branch, get there at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. in the evening, and work from 4 to 9, and then next day maybe have an exam again. So I think I was wired like that. You know, my discipline helped. the urge to be number one. Once you see yourself on that ladder board, you want to stay up there. And I think along the journey, I was making good money. Anyway, I started supporting my mum, dad overseas. I started supporting myself. Started funding for my stuff. I loved cars back then too. Bought myself an XR6 pretty early in Australia, and
it's a very Australian car to buy.
I know you get those big wheels, and I started loving life. I was like, this is it. I've made it.
I think that mentality is hard. Like, a lot of people don't have that sink or swim mentality. I think that's something that's really unique.
Yeah.
And not everyone's wired that way to throw yourself in a deep end, and it's either you sink or you swim. No, there's no like in between. I guess a lot of like what I'd like to know is through all that, how did, like, there would have been struggles. It wasn't all, you may have been cocky, you would have been young, but there would have been like moments where you're going, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is right for me. Am I doing the right thing? How did you push through on a mentality, especially through that sink or swim stage?
Look, it was hard to manage a lot of things all together. I'm not going to lie. There's few days where I would say, man, this is too tough. I can't do it anymore. I'm sleep deprived. I'm studying at nights. I'm coming early morning to this retail store to sell, and it's time and again the same thing. 2015, and obviously right before this, my parents' permanent residency came because my sister organised paperwork once we both kids told the parents to get down here because we love the country and I've settled down, most importantly for them. There was no looking back. I mean, I've always been family oriented. Family to me comes first till date. No matter how much successful I would have become, family comes first. Everything is for the family. I'll compromise anything for them. I'll kill for them, and I'll die for them. So, I knew parents are coming down here. Dad's already sold his house. He didn't have a lot of property. He's only had his house. He's already sold it. There's no looking back. I go to my boss in 2015. I say, mate, I think it's time for me to move on. I've finished my master's degree. I need to look for an accounting job. And he made me sit down. He saw my performance last sort of close to 2 years, and he said, I'm not letting you go. He offered me a leadership position straight away. And, taking that pay rise and taking that position, right from there, I went home. I didn't ask anyone. I didn't ask my sister. I didn't ask my dad overseas on what should I do. I just made up my mind. I was like, man, I've done well in the company. I can make my own decisions. I'd rather stay rather than starting fresh in an accounting firm as an intern. I think, my parents are coming. I need to soon move out of my sister's and get a rental property to myself and fund for my parents' day-to-day life as well. I think hands down, I had a good boss in the start, and I kept doing the right thing, being honest, and kept hitting my targets. So I believe that helped me sustain a good life and keep growing.
Going back to that family type of thing, you did what a lot of people, especially moving from overseas, dream of, is actually bringing your parents from India to be living in Australia permanently. What was that process like, and what was that feeling like of actually accomplishing that?
There's nothing better than that. I mean, people dream of this thing. A lot of immigrants would come on student visa or many different visas and settle down here. They miss their family on important festivals, important, big achievements. They buy a house, they become graduates. They miss the family to be with them. And we were lucky in that respect, not coming from a very wealthy family. My dad selling whatever he had to fund for his PR, and back then it costed him just over 100 grand. To get down here, him deciding that and leaving everything to his kids was a big decision, and we paid back. My parents came. I had a house in a few months' time, rented property in a few months' time, gifted my dad his first car here in a few months.
It wasn't another Falcon XR6.
No. It was a Volkswagen, by the way.
So we go European now.
I know. And it was fun. It was a fun ride. We started his life. I think after I've seen this. After your parents grow old, they become your kids. You're no longer their kids. If you know what I mean. they rely on you, you know. They want the same pampering and
it's almost that circle of life, where your kids raise you, and as they get older, you start to help them out more as they need that support.
Yeah. And I started investing in their well-being, you know, what have they done, you know, day to day, getting them their first car, their license. My dad failed 5 times getting his license. It was fun. But keeping that aside, it was fun. It was a fun journey, you know, starting a whole new life with them, enjoying every journey, me becoming a graduate, my sister getting blessed with a baby girl, I'm getting married, buying my first home, you know, and getting blessed with a baby girl myself. You know, they've seen it all, and we're lucky in that respect to have done that. Was it easy? I think hands down to my parents for making it a bit easier, you know, adjusting to this environment. And, you know, looking today, my dad, if you ask him, do you want to go India on a holiday? He's like, no, I love Australia. This is my country. I've got my day-to-day life here. I've got my friends here. And hands down to them to get adjusted here in the lifestyle, and they were never a burden on us kids. They were independent from day one.
I feel like Australia is an easy country to get used to, because like over the years, especially being Australian myself, living overseas myself, and then coming back to Australia is so multicultural now. It's so diverse. Yeah. Like, it's almost like, you know, what is the predominant culture here? Everyone's from everywhere.
A few areas you go to, you feel that, am I living in Australia?
I mean, well, not even that. I feel like no one, like, what is, apart from the indigenous people who, you know, were here long before, everyone's kind of from everywhere, you know. Most Australians, version of Australians are convicts from, you know, Europe, England, all those countries. So, I mean, Australia in itself, the history is multicultural. Yeah.
Makes it easy for a lot of people who move down here to live.
Makes it less daunting because we are so diverse. Like, you go out into Melbourne City and you can have nearly any different cuisine for dinner these days because we are so diverse. I think that's what makes Melbourne in Australia so unique, is that multicultural aspect of it.
100%. Lots of opportunities. It makes it livable by every year.
Good for kids as well, because like, you want your kids to like grow up in that diverse culture of the understanding of how the world actually works.
Absolutely.
And being in Melbourne, you kind of get that within Melbourne because there is so much of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Going back, you know, you're now a husband and more recently a father. What's that been like?
Been fun. I hope my wife doesn't mind me saying this, but she's a big reason on where I am. Getting married was, again, you know, it's a decision that everyone makes in their life, but I think mine was the best decision. I think she's very full on. I mean, she's my fire. She's become my fire lately. You know, pushing me into things that I was scared to do. You know, be it starting a business. You know, I still remember the date, 5th of March 2020. I came down from work, a job that I absolutely loved and I thrived in. I'm in a leadership position Monday to Friday in a retail shop, 9 to 5, getting paid good money. I come down and, you know, we've been talking about this. It was not a straightaway decision. And, you know, she said the amount of hard work you do for someone and at a job, you could do it for yourself and do amazing. And I think it hit me hard. I mean, I know financially I wasn't there yet. I didn't have a lot of savings, and, you know, her income back then wasn't enough. But her drive, her trust in me is what helped me back then. And I think on a day, I still remember, 5th of March, I sent an email at night to my boss saying, I think this is it. We got to part ways. And the rest is history. And again, starting a business wasn't easy, but we'll get to that.
I think that's what you need, though, from a partner. You need someone that's going to push you to where your potential is, not where you are. Because a lot of people get stuck at this middle ground of they know where they can go, but they don't have that push to kind of get them to the next level because they get stuck.
And I think it's not on circumstances where you need the push. I think it's day-to-day life. I think it has to be consistent. You've said it. What was like getting married? I think married, you know, you got to be best friends with your partner first, and then start this journey called life, a married life. You know, it has to be a push every day and looking after each other, looking after each other's well-being every day, looking after each other's vibe and mood. And similarly, becoming a father, again, I always wanted a girl, and thank God I got a girl. I love her to pieces. She's changed me how I am as a human being. I always used to be rushy, and, you know, she's made me a lot more grounded. A lot of my decisions, whether it's business or personal, it's around Alaya, it's around her. I want her to do well, and you know, be proud of what her father's become, and you know, carry on the legacy from there.
It's interesting. Yeah, you go from being married and there's a lot of there's a lot of compromise when you're married and all that, then to having a young daughter or baby girl.
Yeah.
Me and myself, I've got a boy, and your perspective changes because you're like,
Absolutely.
every decision you make,
Yeah.
you think of them. How does it affect them? What about them? It really changes your whole mindset on life, doesn't it? No matter what decision you make.
Your physical well-being, mental well-being of your business, everything relies around your family, you know, because at the end of the day, they want to see the best of you, and they want to see you doing financially well. I know money is a big motivator. I'm not saying money is everything, but you got to be in a position to be consistent, to provide for them, and they want to see the best of you.
Well, I think it's a normal human instinct. Everyone wants to give their kids everything and every opportunity, and unfortunately, I'm the same. Money's not the be all end all, but you need money to give them the life that you want them to live. Yeah. So I guess you kind of segued into it. Let's go back to the start of your business. You know, I obviously know that's part of the story really well.
Yeah.
What was that like leaving Telstra to start your business and your career as a mortgage broker? What was that like?
It wasn't fun, I'll be honest, and a lot of people who start a business would relate to it. Mine was a bit different. I always say to anyone who's wanting to become a broker, but I didn't resign from my job to become a broker. I resigned to do something else with a mate in something related to Telstra. So it was sort of a tech/IT. We started a business, didn't do well, and you know, where we go wrong as newbies in the business is we start to expect a weekly wage pretty quickly. You know, I was making XYZ every week. Money was flowing into my CBA account, and straight away money's not coming. It's been 6 months, 8 months, and we start to panic, and we want things quickly, which is what happens in business. And
it's scary.
It's scary.
The money leaves quicker than it comes in.
I used to stay awake at night on what I've done, what a blunder I've done. I used to put blanket on my head and be on seek again, start applying for jobs. I landed a job at NAB as a branch manager and wasted the recruiter's time for 3 weeks, come home with a contract, and my wife ripped it off. She's like, everything takes time. I was like, but I haven't made money in 4 months. She's like, we can stay without money. So I think another push that I needed in my early years, she's like, don't rush. It's like a baby. Feed it well, it'll grow well. And it's pretty simple, you know. Everyone who starts a business or everyone who joins this business, I always tell them, don't expect anything quickly. I mean, you have to have a buffer, and back then I didn't have a buffer. I didn't have savings. It's
kind of that 2-year mark that we all talk about in finance, isn't it? It really takes you 2 years to get it together.
Good time. So again, sleepless nights. Funny enough, and not a lot of people know this story, and a couple of mates that I've told to have laughed at. You know, you see a Bunnings warehouse close to this. Back in COVID, when I resigned from job and didn't make money, I applied for a role. Then I got a night fill manager. Not a night fill manager. I got a role of a night fill, where I used to pack online orders. So I started doing that, and my wife's like, "Why are you doing it?" And she used to feel depressed on what this guy is becoming.
I can't believe you never told me this.
Nobody
I didn't even
knows
know that. Yeah, wow.
Going from a high 100,000 paying job to get down to this. I mean, no job is big or small. Don't get me wrong. I'll be humble as it is till I die. But I started to lose self-confidence. I was like, I can't do this.
But it's really scary going from a high-paying job to basically no money.
The manager he interviewed me is like, you should be in a leadership position. Why have you applied for a night fill job? I was like, I think that's the only thing that's available online. But look, I started doing it. Did it for 3 months, not going to lie. It wasn't every day, but did it for 3 months. And at this time, I've started broking side by side and left it pretty quickly. So broking started to take off. I started investing time in my education on how I present to clients, how I talk to people. You know, a big believer in knowing what you preach, which means knowing your craft. You can't do it half-heartedly. I was made to believe that you can do mortgage broking part-time, but you can't. So I think it took me a while to understand that I have to jump into something full-time to make the most out of it.
It's interesting because like you go back to the start of your story, it's very much that back to that sink or swim. You got put in that opportunity, you got put in that position to either sink or swim, and you've overcome that again and again.
Yeah.
I think that might be something that's really come with you the whole way that maybe you haven't realized.
I think you're right. I'll go back to family. Family is something I've always been attached to. I was like, I can't be doing this all my life. It was Telstra back then. Again, a good paying job. I could have done this for another 10 years, but I didn't see myself doing it for years to come. And
but even the way you got into Telstra was very much a single swim moment for you, wasn't it? You came in there a young 23-year-old or 24-year-old, and have that cockiness to be like, I can do this. Give me a chance.
2015
whoever's your best, I will beat them. Like that young, really immature mentality to single swim. And then as you've grown older, going through Telstra, having your first business that didn't go well, then to go into the mortgage broking industry and still have that single swim mentality where it was like, okay, I haven't got the money, but I'm going to get this temporary job to get me through to provide for my family. It's always coming back to it's either you're sinking or you're swimming, and you've just kept swimming.
I think a lot of it goes to how I don't care what the noise is outside. I just stay in my lane and keep working hard. A lot of people used to tell me, you can't do broking, man. There's people out there working 14, 15 years in a bank to learn banking, and then they start broking because they're financially up there, and they're not taking that step. But a lot of people demotivated me from starting broking, which made me question myself. But I was like, man, I'm going to do something different. No contact, no client leads on my phone, knew no one, and started this with full power, knocking doors, making some cold calls to local real estate agents, accountants, got knocked back because they used to say we deal with someone for the last 20 years. I was like, yeah, good, but what if the guy is busy and he can't handle your work? Give me a chance. Again, not giving up attitude, I believe.
It goes back to that conversation we had on the phone a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember what I said?
Yeah.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
It's such a true saying. It sounds very cliche when you say it. It's like one of those Pinterest quotes you put on your Pinterest board, but it's true. And it's such a true saying as you think about it that, you came in with no experience and you were competing with people that have 30 years, 20 years, however many years.
Yeah.
And now to today's day, you're surpass them, if not match them. I would say surpass them for sure, but it's crazy how it was just the drive you had. Again, back to the single swim. I guess what I want to know is we can look at today's day and go, you've been very successful, but what were the struggles early on and throughout the journey so far? What's some struggles? How did you overcome them? What was some lessons you learnt?
I think struggles on personal and business front. Let's start with personal. I think not managing my time wisely. Work becomes everything for you when you start a business and you see the money rolling in. You want to be at work all the time. I became very, very obsessed with working, seeing clients, no matter if it's 9 p.m., working till 1 a.m. And slowly I realized I don't want to make it my life. And on the business front, I think you learn gradually, again, who do you want to work with? You want to work with almost everyone when you start a business because everyone is your client, but slowly you need to understand that everybody can't be your client. You need to learn how to say no. I think what I lack, and I would say till date, I'm not going to shy away from it, is I'm not the easiest person who will say no to anyone. I'm still learning and putting myself at front. This was the main hardship, I would say. Forgetting to say no to people and saying yes to everything was the hardest thing. But once I mastered it, once I mastered my time and learned how to say no and understanding who I really want to work with and who are not my people, is when I understood that, yes, I can build something bigger out of this. Obviously I never imagined this office or where I am at the moment. Not even in my dream, sitting back home in India or moving to this country, I thought I'll ever have a business. But starting a business and doing the right thing step by step, day by day is helped me to where I am.
I think that is the reason why people move to Australia, is the endless potentials. You
Yeah.
don't know where you're going to go. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, same for me, to where when I look back at 18-year-old me to today, I would have went, nah, you're lying. That's not going to be me. But you make a good point that being busy as a business, you know, how do you go with work, family life? You've got a daughter that's eventually going to grow up, and I'm sure she's going to play sport. How's you going to manage your time, and have you thought about that? And how do you currently manage your time with the work-life balance?
Look, I'm pretty good with my time now, and it's been a couple of years that I've started a habit of time crunching, where our time's put aside for everything. You know, my morning routine's pretty sorted. I have to go gym no matter what. If I'm not in the mood, I'll still show up and do something, make the most out of it, listen to a good podcast and work out. Builds a good vibe and good energy in me. And if I'm full of energy between 5 and 7 a.m., I'll go home and give that energy to my family. I think they deserve that. And they're respectful of it. 7 a.m. to sort of 9 a.m., spend time with my daughter, feed her, drop her to childcare. It's pretty sorted. Be at the office sort of 9:30. My routine, I think, really helps me. You know, I get laughed at a lot of times. You have to do everything at a set time, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with having the same breakfast every day, same meal, same routine. Not wearing the same clothes, obviously, but
I'd hope
not. But yeah, routine helps. Staying in a positive frame of mind. Look, a big believer in sorting out your time pretty well. You know, you have to have time for yourself. A lot of people say, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to look after myself. Well, you have time. You got to look at your screen time and understand how much time you're wasting every day.
Yeah, stop scrolling through TikTok.
Stop scrolling and looking
Instagram
at everybody's
reels.
lives. Make something out of your life, you know.
100%.
And, you know, go home. Look, something I want to work on is being present. I think I'm still working on it. I'll get home 5:30 every day, which for a business owner is pretty decent, working 9 to 5:30. But, you know, I'm physically present, but mentally sometimes I'm not, because I'm always on my laptop or AirPods. A client calls at 7 p.m. I want to answer that.
I think that's everyone gets stuck in, though, living that like presence. It's
the beauty of running a business, because they say run a business, but they don't tell you that it runs 24 hours.
No, they don't. But I think it's hard to be present as well, because people get distracted. Things happen. It's, you know, I think it's something everyone tries to work on. I definitely say I wish I was more present in some things rather than other things, but sometimes it just happens. I guess, you know, I work with a lot of mortgage brokers, and I've dealt with a lot of mortgage brokers. Win Financial Group is really successful and is growing at a really quick rate. Why do you think that happened? Like, what do you contribute it to?
Look, I wouldn't say we bring a lot of knowledge. I think everyone out there, my fellow brokers, there's 25,000 of us now, I believe.
I agree, but what makes you stand out with all the 25,000 or however many brokers there are? It's highly competitive.
I'm trying to perfect. One thing is being genuine. I think people can really scan through you and find out if you're fake or genuine. I think I want to genuinely help people, genuinely listen to them and see what they want. And help them along the journey. If someone's not ready to buy a home today or get a loan from me today, it doesn't mean that I'm going to block them and not answer their phone. They're not a time waster. I can help them save. Being an immigrant, I understand the value of money more than anyone. So I think I can help them along the journey to save money and you know, tell them my story. It's not the most influential story of the world, but tell them, hey, I came into the country in 2013. It's only been sort of 12 years. I've saved money. I've bought property 1, bought property 2, got married, done things, saved money. And at the same time, why can't they do it? So give them those life lessons. I think someone gave me a push back then. Why can't I be that person for people? And I think people relate to it. This weekend I saw a client, and after the meeting he says, I've met 2 other brokers before coming here, but I'm coming here because you were recommended by a good friend of mine. And I think, so what's the go from here? He's like, I'll go with you. I was like, what makes you say that? He's like, your energy.
I think that's why we get along, is the energy. Yeah,
it's the energy. I think people feed off your energy. The energy you give out. I'm a big believer in that. The energy you give out is the energy you're gonna get. If you sound to people that you're not in a mood to do it, they're never gonna work with you, no matter how big or authoritative individual you are in your industry. It doesn't matter. You need your A game day in, day out.
You are humble, because 12, 13 years in the country and the amount you've accomplished, not everyone can do that. That's not an easy accomplishment. So you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
I know you'll never admit it to yourself, because you are quite down to earth, but
I think the goals keep changing. That's why I'm never proud of myself, and I want to be that way.
But you have come a long way from
Absolutely.
moving to a completely new country to studying to working a job and making your way up through the corporate ladder to then ditching the corporate ladder to start your own business. That's a massive journey in only 12, 13 years in the country. That's massive. Most people don't do that in a lifetime. So I guess what are the lessons you've learned through that journey? To like, if you had to give your younger self advice today, what would you tell younger Anmol moving to the country?
Younger Anmol, or a lot of people who are moving into the country, I'll tell them come with a clear vision. And I think you can't write this stuff down because it's a big cultural shock for anyone. And it was for me. But I believe you have to have a plan. I'm a big believer, and I do this every day. I sort of know what kind of individual I want to become. And I self-audit time and again to see what does that individual behaves like? What does that individual do day in, day out? What does he eat? Does he work out every day? Does he sleep on time and gets his sleep? Is he full of energy? Is he the same energy at 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.? So I'm a big believer in that. I think those small things, and I think going back to giving advice to my younger self would be, don't expect something out of life quickly. Give it time, feed it. Make small goals. Something that I really do well now is making weekly, fortnightly, quarterly and yearly goals. People look at 5 years down the line, and I think we got to go week by week. That helps me do really well. Yeah.
I'm glad some of my lessons have paid off to you.
Yeah, you've been a big reason for me doing well in the business. I think I've bombarded you a lot of times, and I think it's not easy to do it alone. Business, yes, sometimes this office is empty. I mean, you're doing it all by yourself, and you think, man, I think I need a big team. And then that's where people like yourself and good friends like yourself come into the picture and say, hey, I'll give James a call and say, hey, this week was shit. I didn't do what I was expected to, and things didn't go as per plan. And I think on that, what's helped me again is perspective and being grateful.
It's also the bigger picture, though. Like,
bigger picture. My bad day is someone else's life. The life I'm living, people dream of it. Having a bad day doesn't mean a bad life. Look at a bigger picture. Be grateful for how far you've come. Don't compare your life. If it's a bad life or it's a bad day, don't compare it with someone who's above you. Compare to someone who's below you, and you'll see how far you've come.
100%. A bad day, a bad week, however long your bad luck's running for, doesn't mean anything on the perspective. You've got a long life.
Yeah.
I think what people need to realize is with all that bad comes life lessons. And if you learn and identify those lessons, you improve yourself, whether that's individually or as a business or any other way you want to look at it. Anything and everything that happens for a reason and has a lesson. It's whether the person wants to understand the lesson, resonate with that lesson and move on and make themselves a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, lessons will come every day, be it business, be it personal life. You've got to learn from it and move on. I think a lot of it is self-audit. You see your life, you see your business, self-audit it. Where is it going wrong? Have I got enough time for my clients? Are my clients happy? Is my staff happy? Go home. Is my wife happy? Am I giving enough time? Self-audit. If you haven't, I was listening to this podcast which featured, I don't know if you know, he's a really good agent, Josh Morrissey in Canberra, sells luxury properties. He raised a very valid point in his podcast. He's like, self-audit makes him do really well in his day-to-day life. If he hasn't spent time with his wife, he'll self-audit and switch off everything and tell babe, let's go out for the weekend. I haven't spent time with you. Fix it then and there. Don't dwell on things. There's problems that'll come day in, day out, week in, week out. How quickly you fix them and change the vibe is where it's at.
I think identifying and criticizing yourself is actually a really important tool to make. It also helps self-improvement.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess going back to your younger days moving to Australia as an international, as a immigrant international student, if you're speaking to someone in that position now, what advice would you give them?
International students, oh my God, okay. You've taken me back to 2013. Work hard, be honest. I think this country has a lot to offer. Australia is full of opportunities. I think I was talking to...
And don't be too cocky.
Sometimes that takes you somewhere. I think I put myself in a position back at my interview there, and I think I've made me work hard and prove a point, you know.
all jokes aside, though, you know, being cocky is actually probably a good thing because it gives you that confidence to sell.
Yeah.
It gives you that kind of motivation booster for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I couldn't, thinking back to knowing you now, I couldn't imagine you as a cocky person.
I said that. I said, give me a chance, I'll beat your top salespeople. And I was like, man, you haven't sold a phone in your life. How are you going to do it? But again, putting yourself in a pressure, having that mentality, yes, I can do it. If people out there are doing it, if a company of 90 to 100 people are doing it, people are sustaining jobs, what are they doing different? I've gone to a good school. I know how to speak English. I know how to present well. I'm likable. I think a big part of running a business and working anywhere in the world is you got to be somewhat likable. I think you got to have that genuine personality and I learned that pretty early in my life in Australia that, you know, you have to be likable. Going back to your lessons that I want to give to people who move here, again, work hard, be honest with yourself, pick a job. Don't be afraid to do small jobs. There's no jobs big or small in the country. Sometimes we come from those lavish environments, you know. Even though I belong to a lower middle class family back home, we always had someone working for us at home, someone cleaning. You know, coming here, you have to do everything yourself. I saw some of my mates moving back in the first 6 months. But I think if you cross the first 2 years, 3 years barrier, it's a beautiful place to live in. It'll bring a lot of opportunities. It's not even funny. And people now I sit down with after 10, 12, 15 years, they all say, how did I get so lucky? And same as me, how did I get so lucky? I never imagined this life.
Mm. It's a very inspirational story. Very inspirational. I think you make a good point though, and it's probably why we get along, and I think a lot of people forget it. Be authentic. Be your authentic self. Like,
Yep.
you know, when you call me and you ask me something, you're going to get my honest answer,
Yep.
but I also am just myself.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's the biggest thing between me and you from day one is we were just authentic with each other. We didn't really hide who we were. It's like, this is me. If you don't like it, well,
Fake it till you make it doesn't work. I mean,
No, it
for some
doesn't.
people it does, and good on them. It doesn't work for me, and it never will.
you start to see it over time anyway.
Yeah.
If you fake it for too long, it starts to become very obvious where
Yeah.
if you are just your authentic self from day one, people are either going to like you or they're
Yeah.
going to hate you. And you know what? I'm okay with either because
Yeah.
I'm me. I can't change me. I can't make you like me. So I'd rather just be myself from day one.
Day one, yeah, that's it.
Makes it easier.
100%.
Just earlier, you made a point that your goals have changed and the goalposts have consistently moved. What was success like back then versus today, and what does success look for you in the future? Have you thought about that?
I'm not going to lie, my younger self thought success is all about money, making money. You know, when I came into the country, someone said $60,000 a year, it's a lot of money, you've made it in life. You listen to a lot of noise, then they said, oh, 6-figure income, I think you've made it. I've seen people go to 6-figure a week, but they're miserable inside. And I never wanted to be that person. Success to me, again, was money back then, but not now. Money is important. I'll again come to that. Money is important. It makes you live a good life, makes you want to provide to your family all the best things that you see. But it's not everything. To me, I want to have time for the family. I want to have a good balance. I want to have time for myself, things that I love doing. At the cost of money, yes. The amount of times I've said no to clients after hours and lost those clients, I wouldn't have done that 3 years before. So success is measured in different ways. As you grow in your career, as you grow in your life, you become older, you become wiser. Becoming a dad changes you a lot. It's not about money anymore. It's about myself. It's about my family. It's about time. It's about mental and physical health. I'm a big believer in that.
I read a book when I was younger and
Yeah.
it changed my mindset personally. Was it's not about happiness, it's not about sadness, it's about living a fulfilled life.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what everyone's chasing.
This
It's
is the beauty of
fulfillment.
our profession as well. The amount of people we see bringing their income documents. Someone would be making $60,000 a year and living a beautiful life, to someone who's making $1 million a year, but always thinking about money, money, money. You know, and I asked them one simple question, you know, you're buying this big property, and sometimes people hate me for this. I should be happy if they're buying a big property. And I see family of 3 buying a huge property, and I ask them one thing, do you really need it? Or is it to get some sort of pat on the back from the society,
validation from your friends
society,
and family,
and you're making your life miserable. You have to work 7 days or 6 days to pay this off. Do you really need it? And I think this is where our people go wrong. Not saying Indians in general, but our people in the society, where they rely too much on validation, what the next door neighbor or their friend thinks, them driving a fancy car. In all honesty, if you can afford it, do it. I love my cars. I love a good home, but don't do it at the cost of your health, your well-being, your time.
I see a lot of people that buy the nicest car, buy the big houses, but they don't go on holidays, for an example. Like for me and my family, it's important that we go on a holiday and have that break.
It teaches you a lot of lessons,
100%.
Yeah.
So I think it's a valid thing, especially as you do this podcast and probably talk about it. That's a whole thing about living within your lifestyle. A lot of people go, and I know this from, you know, being a broker and now to this role, what I do currently is a lot of brokers will go to me going, this client wants their maximum borrowing. And it's like, well, what is maximum borrowing, for an example, is, well, let's say your maximum borrowing is 2 million, but your lifestyle is whatever it is, but your actual maximum borrowing is 1 million. Because that difference is the way you live your life. It's borrow within your means, borrow within your lifestyle. Don't borrow the maximum, because that could affect your lifestyle and the way you live. If
you're borrowing money to pay off those debts, you're not living, to be honest. You're working harder to pay off those debts. You're making the bank rich, not yourself. You know, over time, I know your wealth will grow, but the amount of years you've lost, I'm a big believer in this. My body is not, I work out every day. My body is not the same as it was at 30, and now at 35, I feel that it's different to what it was. I wouldn't say it's gone down, but I'm working harder on my body. I'm looking out for what I eat. I'm being mindful of how I sleep, and I know at 40 things will be different again. But at least what you do today, it's gonna reflect on how your life and how you age.
But at least as you get older, you can say you've, one, enjoyed life. Two, you can say you've lived it to the fullest. And I think 100%. That's the main thing at the end of the day, is that fulfillment that 100%. We go back to.
Getting the right balance is the key. So that's what it is.
We've talked about resilience. We've talked about that sink or swim kind of mentality. And I think we're always circling back to that now. Is give us some stories of those sink or swim moments.
You're coming back to that. I've got a lot of them, to be honest.
There's been a lot of ups and downs, but like through the whole journey, what's some up and downs? What's one of those stories that really resonate with you today?
There's another story that you don't know of, and I think it's going to open your mouth. A lot of people don't know about this. So 2015, as I said, my parents came down here, and they came as permanent residents. The one best feeling I had, sister living here, happily married, citizen of Australia, parents come down here, permanent residents. I filed my permanent residency in 2015 as well, because I did accounting, and on the basis of accounting, you could file for PR. 15 days in, I get expression of interest, which is, again, lucky or hard work. And I'm like, yes, PR is almost there. Parents have come down. Expression of interest is there. They've told me to get my medical done. My English test is all good. Permanent resident, happy family. I'm working in this Telstra store, and an email comes from immigration, again, Department of Immigration. And it says, we've got reasons to believe that there's a document that you provided when you came into the country in 2013, which is highly unlikely. Why would you go to my file in 2013? And we believe it's not the right document and it's bogus. Me being a kid, I thought, it's never a bogus thing. It was an experience that I provided. I used to work for someone in accounting. I didn't need to provide that document, but I just attached it back in 2013. Just as a reference that I'm coming to Australia. I'm working in an accounting firm for some experience, and I want to carry over this and study in Australia. They said we tried to contact that person who used to work for. It wasn't reachable. The firm closed down, and these guys thought that it's a bogus document. And I replied then and there on the shop floor selling phones, hey, mister, this is not a bogus document, XYZ, kind regards, Anmol. This is not the reply you give to someone working in immigration. 5 days later, your visa is declined. and you have to appear in front of a court, else you're out of the country.
Wow.
Parents came here on PR, spent $100,000. Sister's already living here, and I get this email. What would have happened? I'm shitting in my pants.
I could imagine.
I contact whoever I knew in the country to give me good references of lawyers. This is what I could do. One of my mate gives me a lawyer, and I go to him, see him in city. He decides to take my case. He's like, it's easy, man. I mean, you've got professional and compassionate grounds now that your family is coming. I was like, mate, I've studied too much. I've got all my documents. I'm not relying on compassionate grounds. Don't give the department a reason for compassionate grounds that my family is here to give me permanent residency. I've studied. I've scored well, you know. My degree is assessed by CPA Australia.
It's almost like you've earned your right at this
I've
point.
earned my right. I mean, I should be just worried about someone getting me PR at the moment, but I was really big on self-respect at that point because I worked a lot hard till then. And he decided to take my case, took all the documents back from when I used to study back home and studying all here, my work experience here and all that stuff. 3 days before my court hearing, when he's already prepared, I've already prepared, I get a call from his office saying, this lawyer can't fight your case anymore. He's fighting anxiety and depression. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I will be thrown out of the country if this guy doesn't fight my case, and it's 3 days left. Another call comes from his office. Where should we refund your money that you've paid? I was like, fuck's sake. Are you for real? And then you start all over. You've got 3 days for that court hearing. Either you ask for more time or you find more lawyers. I get another reference to a lawyer, and I haven't thanked him enough. This reminds me to call him and thank him and just see where he is and you know, thank him again. He's a lawyer in Adelaide. I'm sure I'm going to send him a link to this. He decided to take my case. I spoke to his PA in the start and, you know, told my whole story. He decided to take my case. And in 2 days' time, he flies down from Adelaide, appears in front of the court, and fights like a real fighter. And a week after, I get my PR. So I would have decided to not fight it after the first lawyer decided to back off. But I thought it's again a do or die situation. I either fight it or go on to compassionate grounds, seek another visa or do XYZ and wait for another 2 years, wait for my turn to come in the court and fight it. But my resilience, I think my never give up attitude made me still fight it. I know I trusted that lawyer to know my case in 2 days and fight it through, and he just made it happen.
It's that single swim that I keep circling back to.
Yep.
You had all the odds against
Makes
you.
me sweat again talking about it. To be
you go back to that single swim. You had all the odds against you.
Maybe you're the fifth person in Australia to know this. Nobody knows it.
I think it's amazing. I've always respected you.
People always said you've had it good, man. Your parents moved to the country. Your sister was already living down here. You had a good job. Well, it wasn't lucky, man. I mean, I have had my time when.
And you've had your shit luck too.
Yeah. I fell down, but I never gave up. Again, do or die.
Yeah, single
it's
swim.
Very simple. Yeah, single swim.
All the adversity in the world, 2 days, and look where you are now. I think, and that's probably why your story's so.
It was 38 degrees. I was sitting in my car without the aircon on, talking to this new lawyer in Adelaide, repeating the same story again, sending the same documents again. I was like, "Fuck me, is that ever going to end?" But
38 degrees in Melbourne. You sure?
It was,
okay.
yeah, on that day.
Okay.
And I think it's something about that feeling when you get some jitters and you're like, "Man, I'm not going to turn on aircon. I'm almost pissing in my pants. Let me talk to this guy, do my interview with him and see how we go."
I think your story has been amazing to listen to, and I've learned some stuff that I didn't know about you. And again, I've always respected you, and probably that respect's grown. I think for you, very much your life motto is sink or swim.
Yeah.
To end up what we've talked about today, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years, and what's next?
5 to 10 years. Look, you've said it a lot far. I believe I plan my life 6 months to 1 year at a time.
30, 60, 90?
Yeah, you could say that. But look, my personal or professional goals, if you want to know, personally, I want to become a better human. I think I strive to become a better human. People say, no matter what people say, good or bad, I want to be a good human for the family, for the people who know me, for the people who respect me. be mindful of my time, learn more about mental and physical health. I think a lot of people are doing that rat race again, and bringing more awareness into people. Study more on things like gut health. If you keep feeding it rubbish all the time, I know we rely a lot on our gut health. And I think it's funny enough, what we feed to our gut is trash a lot of times, whether it's food or things through social media. So I'm learning a lot of things. I want to learn a lot of things, not just hitting gym every day, but learn a lot of things at large. Become a better human at home as well, be more available for my family, be it my wife, my kid, my dad, and all my family, not just physically present, but mentally present. And my wife's going to love this. Start helping at home. I don't. A lot of people who are running business, my advice, don't take it to heart, but if you're running business and you're doing well, you might be making millions of dollars. Doesn't give you this a title that you are the breadwinner of the family. You don't have to do anything at home. You should be able to. You always should find time to help things at home. I think whatever our women do at home is, you can't even think of it. Professionally, become a better broker. Keep mastering the craft, and with your help, we're gonna get there sooner or later. Hire a couple more people. My plan is to be the same way till I'm 30, run the business the same way till I'm not 30, till I'm 40, and start becoming more of a giver after 40, go into more of a coaching role. I think by that time, hopefully, I would have become a bigger organization and have means to support people more. Grow the team. I'm a big believer in growing your team and looking after their well-being. A lot of time I speak to my offshore staff. I want to know how their weekend was like, how their day-to-day life is, how their family members are. Not offering them incentives in money, but offering them incentives like private health cover, making sure they spend time, reading good stuff, doing yoga, meditation, and spending time on their physical well-being. The message is straight, just not preach yourself, but help whoever you can along the journey.
It's big thing. It's a lot.
It's not hard if you think about it. It's not a lot. It's just straight. Yeah.
It's the simple things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It comes down to the simple things. Well, thank you for inviting me to interview you. I did learn a few things which I wasn't sure if I was going to. I think it comes down to resilience, sink or swim, and all that really has made your career and where Win Financial Group is today. So thank you. I really appreciate the time to interview you and get to know you on a deeper level.
Thanks for doing this, James. It's been amazing talking about the journey. You've taken me a long time back, and when I reflect, it makes me more grateful on how far we've come. Wherever we want to go, that's the next step of the story. But we've come far. So thank you for doing this.
No, anytime. I was going to be a little bit more humorous, but I couldn't be. So no, it was really good.
You've heard some intense stories. So that's fine.
Yeah, no, it was it was good to know though. Means I understand you on a deeper level too. So
glad, mate. Really looking forward to do this again in future. Thank you.
Oh, for sure, we'll do it again.
Thank you.